AITA for siding with my 28M, SIL 34F, over my wife 26F. My wife is a beautiful hard-working woman who has a high education and a solid career. We were college sweethearts and have been married 2 years. We own a house together, we both have master's degrees and careers that we worked hard for. We're currently trying for a baby as we're ready to take the next step in our lives. From what I gathered from my in-laws, my wife's older sister is her half-sibling. They have the same father but grew up in different households. After their father's infidelity in his first marriage with my SIL's mom, her parents divorced, then my FIL remarried and had my wife with his new wife. I heard my SIL grew up in poverty with her mother in a rundown area and saw my FIL on weekends. My wife's parents, FIL and MIL, are very educated and have solid careers as well. My wife grew up in a 2-parent household in the suburbs. Apparently my SIL is also disabled. I'm a very empathetic person and was curious to know what happened, so I gently brought it up to my SIL during an outdoor family get-together. She confirmed it was all true and went into further detail. She had multiple surgeries for medical conditions, was bullied in school, almost died twice, her mother was poor and struggling, etc. Despite her degree, she's been trying to get employed for years and has used temp agencies, but she said employers terminate her as soon as she requests accommodation, so she's been on, off government assistance for years. She's also medically sterile. She's apparently also been in therapy for over 10 years. At this point my SIL started tearing up, so I ended the conversation and apologized for asking. Later on at home, when I brought up the conversation to my wife, she immediately goes on to say that her sister has a tendency to play the victim, she needs to be patient, work harder, etc., etc. After getting to know my SIL more though, I'm even more grateful for what I have. My wedding with my wife was paid for by our family, we have solid careers that we got right out of college, we're in great health, we have a bunch of friends and were never bullied in school. When I brought up that I'm so thankful that we're so fortunate, my wife immediately got defensive and goes on about hard work, not to let the past define you, anyone can make it if they try hard enough, etc. I've never seen this side of her before. While I acknowledge we've both worked very hard to get where we are, I gently told her we do have our parents and upbringings to thank for that. She snapped at me. She's a licensed counselor, but I honestly thought she would be more empathetic to her own family member who's been through so much. I definitely would. Thankfully my siblings never went through that, but I couldn't even imagine if they did. AITA for taking my SIL's side over my wife's. AITA for making my sister pay back my daughter. My 42F daughter Brooke, 16, has been reading since she was 5. She has always loved books and she would spend her allowance that we gave her on the newest book in the latest series that she was reading. It's pretty safe to say that her book collection is huge and filled with all kinds of limited edition and special edition books. Recently she used her allowance to get a new special edition version of a book she already had because she has been saving up for it and was very excited to get it when it came out. Well, my sister Lindsay, 36, came over on Saturday with her daughter Mariah, 13, to spend time with us because it's been a while since we got to hang out and we were just catching up. Mariah started to head to Brooke's room, but I stopped her and told her that Brooke was out and she would be home in 20 minutes, so I suggested that she wait down here with us and tell me about how school was going. She talked for about 10 minutes before she said that she had to go to the bathroom. We have 2 bathrooms in our house, one upstairs and one downstairs, not including our EN suite. Unfortunately the downstairs one is having some issues, so I told her that it was okay to use the one upstairs for now until the one downstairs is fixed. She said okay and went upstairs. While I was talking to my sister, Brooke came home, said hi and quickly went upstairs to change. She wasn't up there for 5 minutes when I heard a loud scream and quickly ran to check on my daughter. When I got to her room my jaw dropped when I saw several of her books, including the new special edition one, destroyed with ripped pages everywhere, and Brooke in tears at the destruction. Brooke is very non-controversial and hates arguing or fighting with people, so I stepped in for her. I told Mariah that she needs to apologize to Brooke, clean up the mess she made and that she would no longer be welcomed in my house. I then turned to my sister and told her that she needed to reimburse Brooke for the books that her daughter destroyed. Lindsay argued with me that Mariah was just a kid and she didn't know what she was doing, but I told her that Mariah is old enough to know right from wrong and what she did was wrong. Lindsay argued back that if my daughter didn't want her books touched that they shouldn't have been out. I lost my cool and told her that they weren't out. They were put away in her room where Mariah wasn't allowed to be without Brooke's permission. Lindsay refused to pay Brooke back and called me a greedy bitch before leaving with Mariah right behind her. I told my husband about this and he was absolutely on our side, and he agreed that Lindsay needs to pay Brooke back for the books that she lost and can't replace as they were special, limited edition that she can't get back. This whole thing has really blown up and my side of the family is telling me that I'm being too hard on Mariah, that she's just a kid, but I don't think I am. She destroyed my daughter's property and she needs to know that her actions have consequences. So I'm asking here. Was I the alpha demanding that my sister pay me back? ETA, I have seen some people ask and I'm going to add a bit of information. Mariah has always had a fascination with Brooke's book collection and last year Brooke let her borrow 2 books because Mariah said that she wanted to start reading. And since Brooke loves reading so much she thought it was a good idea to let Mariah borrow a couple. Well, 2 weeks passed and the books came back damaged, nothing like this but definitely not in good condition anymore, so Brooke told her that she was not allowed to borrow her books anymore. Mariah was angry at that and yelled at my daughter and since then Brooke has kept Mariah away from her books. My husband and I think this is what caused Mariah to do what she did to Brooke's books.
Caught my son being inappropriate with another boy. Thoughts on how to handle. On Mondays, my son's best friend comes over after school until his parents are done with work and come to get him. Both my son and his friend are 10 years old. We have never had any issues with either of them and they are usually very well behaved. Yesterday after I got home, I went to my son's room to check in on them. I opened the door and found both of them naked on his bed acting inappropriately. I was floored, shut the door, and composed myself. After a minute, my son and his friend came out of his room. I didn't acknowledge it at all while his friend was still there. After he left though, my son and I sat downstairs and I tried talking to him about it. I let him know that it wasn't anything to be embarrassed about. These feelings are normal. It's okay to be interested in boys. It doesn't change the fact that I love him, but that doing things like that at his age with either boys or girls is inappropriate. I talked to my wife about this and she was as lost as I was about how to go about this. She called his friend's mom and filled her in briefly and let her know what he and I had talked about. They too want to approach this in a constructive, non-judgmental way, but firmly agree that doing things like this at their age is not allowed. We tried our best at it thus far, but it still feels awkward. Does anyone have any advice on how to go about this from here on out? Obviously, I feel like he maybe doesn't want to keep talking about it, but I know that I need to have a more formal version of the talk with him sooner than I expected. Only other thing I guess I'll add is that I myself am by and remember what it was like as a kid. I did a few pretty stupid things when I was younger in response to being confused by my feelings and got taken advantage of by an older boy, so don't want my son to make the same dumb mistakes I did. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who commented and reached out via DM. You have all been incredibly helpful.